Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I am your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm privileged to welcome a very recognized chess champion from Denver, Colorado, USA, Mr. Jesse Cohen. Jesse, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Jesse is a national master chess champion of USA, and he is, of course, won several top awards around the world. So, Jesse, let's talk chess today. What made you select chess as a sport?
I wish I had a good answer for this. I tried many things when I was growing up, many different sports, and I just was not the fastest or the strongest. It took me some time. It took me until age of 12 before I finally realized that I could use my mind to be competitive. And so that's when I realized my talent. And from there, I became very passionate. But I did try, several other things. I think, I don't know if it's just an American thing, but like, young boy wants to be a football player or a baseball player, but that didn't work out for me. But hey, it's worked out nicely.
Amazing. So what you can say is that you were the smartest, if not the fastest or the strongest, but
yeah, I had something to work with.
Absolutely. Well said. And was there some family elder who introduced you to the game of chess, or did you just start off because you discovered it?
My grandfather introduced me at the age of 9, but surprising because he knows how to play chess, but actually he is a master at a different game that I don't know how to play called bridge. Do you know this game?
I know the bridge game, but I don't play it.
Same. But for some reason, he didn't, even though he's a master at bridge, he taught me chess, just basic rules. And then I forgot about it for 3 years after he taught me at age 9. And then suddenly just discovered it again.
So, Jesse, tell me a little bit about your journey to become the National Master Chess Champion.
Sure. So after I realized that I had a gift at chess, I just poured myself into it fully. And, I don't try to sugarcoat things. I was not the best student academically. I was the student who got A's in classes that I cared about, but in classes that I didn't care so much about, I would be drawing chess diagrams in my notebooks. I'd be preparing for my next tournaments. And, all I could think about was chess. Like once it became chess, there was no other hobbies. There was nothing else to distract my attention. It was 100% chess. And, I started doing chess for about 4 hours a day. My mom got me a chess training program. I played online all the time. And then I got a local coach and started playing in tournaments. And soon enough, I became the middle school state champion, high school state champion, the Colorado state champion. And then by 16, I was the national champion.
Wow.
But then actually it took me some time to become a master, not by my skill level, but I was almost master before I went to college. And then I went to college for about, 4 or 5 years. And then when I graduated, that's when I came back to keep playing and finish my progression to become a master.
Fascinating. So before I move further, let me ask you a basic question for my viewers and listeners. What is master? What is grandmaster? How does this classification work?
Sure. So I should preface by saying something that, here in the United States, we kind of always have to do things differently. The world has Celsius, we have Fahrenheit, the world has meters, we have feet. Yeah. The world has a ranking system named FIDE, FIDE. It is the international ranking system where you can find titles like Grandmaster. Now, my title is not a FIDE title. It is a United States title.
Okay.
And in order to achieve that, you must reach a strength of 2,200. However, to achieve the other master levels, you have to compete more internationally at these specific tournaments. And then, so basically, to put it shortly, a grandmaster has proven themselves, even more than I have. In fact, there's two steps above me. So there's master, and then there's international master, and then there's grandmaster.
Okay.
And then above that, the only thing you can do is become something very, prestigious, like country champion, world champion.
Okay. And I would love to know, how do you prepare yourself before a big match, both physically and mentally?
Sure. So I wish that there was some secret, but I mean, the secret is daily training. It is, I was not always the healthiest in terms of my physical self. However, when I looked at the best players, I kept seeing, healthy body, healthy mind. And so, these days, I do at least, anywhere between half an hour to 2 hours of cardio a day. 2 hours is a lot. And then also weight training. I also play a lot of masters online. And honestly, like the number one thing that helps me, I would say two things, I guess, is one is preparation, because learning how the different, chess has stayed the same for over 1,500 years, but new ideas come around and I have to keep up with them. Otherwise, bad things happen. And so I would say that's probably one of the biggest parts. And the other part is just looking at players that are stronger than me and really looking at their games and trying to understand what makes them different than me. What are they doing that I am not doing, so that I can improve myself? I find this to be the most useful thing.
Interesting. So it's often been said that it's easy to get to the top. It is tough to stay there. You've been there for 2 decades. What have you done that is right to have kept you at the top for such a long period?
I think that a lot of people get burned out. They get distracted. And I understand, I have a family and I have, other when I was really, really into my chess the most, it was hard to even say, who are my close friends? Chess is my close friend.
Right.
But so I have found a good balance, but I mean, basically it is just commitment to training every day. I mean, you could take some breaks, maybe a week, but, really you can't take, long breaks. You really have to stay in your training, because it took so long to get here. And then the other thing is that, I'm not getting younger. I mean, thankfully for me, they say that the mind doesn't start declining until around age 60. So you see top chess players still playing very strong in 40s, 50s, even 60s. So I have some good time, but the resources have changed dramatically since when I was younger. Everything is online now. It is instantaneous. And so I have also had to keep up with the latest training methods and strategies. And so I have to, on one hand, continue doing all the good habits that got me here, but I also must be able to adapt and change to a new learning environment so that I can keep up with all of these young kids who just are doing the same thing as me, but with much better technology.
Amazing. So, you were just mentioning to me a few minutes back that your mom got you a program and you started training. My next question to you, Jesse, is what goes into making a champion and what goes into training a champion?
So the being a champion is it's several key qualities. Talent is a small portion, I tend to find. If you have a natural knack for it, that's great, but you have to have an extreme amount of perseverance that does not get. I mean, I have lost many chess games and some of them have been very painful for me, but none have been so painful that I actually want to quit. My desire to keep going and pushing is never outweighed by the pain of loss, even when that pain is very great.
Mm.
And so a big part of it is mental toughness. It is being able to fail a lot and still not be discouraged, but let that fuel you to be like, I'm going to learn from this and I'm going to do even better next time. Now, making a champion is definitely a bit different because I can help nurture a student's passion, but I cannot give them that passion. I have in the time I've been teaching, I have found, like, one time this family came to me with a 4-year-old boy and said, hey, will you play our son chess? And I was like, okay, now I'm expecting maybe he knows the rules. Maybe. I was like, wow, he knows the rules. He knows some strategy. Like, this kid could be huge. I am still training this student 9 years later. And to be honest with you, he has not gone nearly as far as I was hoping. And I had to reflect on this and realize that even though he is very good at it, he has never had big goals to want to achieve. He has never had this burning passion to succeed and just train and push himself. And so it's a combination. It's a combination of talent, but it's mostly a combination of just consistent hard work and perseverance to not be discouraged by defeat, and just that grit, that determination, and having those goals for yourself. And again, as a teacher, I can find so many students that have maybe one piece or two pieces, but it's pretty rare to find someone like myself, who is just like, who has all the key ingredients, just keep going. And when you find someone like that, it's very special, but it is rare. It is rare.
And any special win that you always cherish?
There was a win at, so I played in the US Open. That is the tournament to decide the country champion. I was only 16. I was not strong enough to win. But in the very first round, I had the opportunity to play a grandmaster much higher rated than myself. And I still remember to this day, my best friend and I were laughing as I'm going to the game. Like, he's like, you're going to get beaten very badly. And I was like, yeah, you're probably right. But I was like, but what if I win? He's like, don't even kid yourself. You're not going to. It's like, but what if I win? And, everybody's kept watching, but I took some chances. And that's how you have to, I don't know if you're familiar with the story of David versus Goliath, but when you are faced with giant opposition, you have to do things that are surprising. You have to be creative. If you do the same things that everyone else does, the same normal kind of chess moves, then they will easily beat you. And so I was willing to take risks. I was willing to take chances and really try to just chop off his head, and metaphorically speaking. And it worked. And it was a huge upset, almost 1,000 points, something you don't hear about. And so I was and then when that happened, it let me know, like, what else can I do?
That probably gave you a new wind in your sails, isn't it?
True. Yeah, absolutely. And I find it's really, really interesting because there's definitely a psychological component, because as soon as I know I can do something, then I do it a lot more. Like, I might be struggling, like, how do I achieve this? How do I achieve this? I'm not so sure, but I keep pushing. And then one day I kind of achieve it. And then as soon as I achieve it, I realize, oh, I can do this. And then I start doing it a lot more very quickly. And so there's definitely these roadblocks. And so if there's one thing I wish I could learn, I'm still trying, is to try to convince my students and even myself that they can achieve things that they have not yet. And they truly 100% believe it. They know they can. And it's hard. It's very hard.
Well said. So, Jesse, chess as a game is played probably in every country in the world. Yet, Russia, Germany, Ukraine, and the US seem to be producing most of the champions. India has a few, but not anywhere near those numbers.
Soon.
Soon, you think so? Okay.
India is doing fantastic. They're really, there's so many new champions coming out of India. It's very exciting.
Okay, wonderful. But what will it take to expand the love of chess in a much larger portion of the world?
So the thing is that chess, kind of like world football or soccer, it's very cheap to play. Like, to get a ball or get a chess set, we're talking about less than $20. However, in order to be really good, I mean, it's still not expensive if you're going to train very, very hard. But eventually, you have to start being able to travel. You have to be able to travel to around your own country. You have to be able to travel to other countries. And then there starts to become financial obstacles. So in places like Russia, chess is like part of their culture. And so these players that are very good, they don't have to worry about finding that money or having rich parents, because the government will give you money to go be successful if you are, in the very best category. Whereas I think, the reason we don't see maybe more champions from other places is because of that. But then again, again, you look at India and, India, despite, even having enormous poverty and stuff like that, we are finding chess champions. And so that is something even I am trying to understand a bit more, because they're so strong, and yet they don't necessarily have the money to travel and to do these things and have these experiences. So even part of this, I don't have the answer to, but I do think a lot of it comes down to that.
And my next question is that, are parents in general supporting children to take chess as a career?
If you are the very best, then sure. Like if you are very, very, very good, or if you have, again, you have very wealthy parents that are just willing to support you no matter what you do. However, I mean, I will be completely honest with you, and this is changing a little bit, but I would say, how many chess players make enough money to live and more just by playing chess and nothing else? No writing books, no coaching, nothing, just playing. And I would say it's probably less than 50.
Wow.
And so most of us have to find, we can make it a career, but most of the money definitely comes from training and sharing our knowledge with other people. And being, an inspiration to other people. That's, I would definitely say that's a huge thing. So like you look at world champion Magnus Carlsen, I mean, at this point, I think he has a clothing line. So, I mean, he has found lots of ways to market himself and find different avenues of revenue, because he knows that just playing chess is not enough, even for the very best. So
amazing. My next question to you is that, chess made big global news when this movie Queen's Gambit came out. What, in your opinion, do movies like this do for the game of chess?
They introduce it to a new generation. And honestly, I'm very, very lucky, because Queen's Gambit did not have to be about chess. It could have been about a different topic, but it happened to be about chess. And then it received so much national and international attention that all these people are suddenly like, oh, chess is interesting. Chess is cool. I want to learn chess. And so, I mean, one of the hardest things about chess, you look at things like poker. There's millions and millions of dollars in poker. And I think one of the reasons is that somebody who is not good at poker can go into a tournament, and even though it's unlikely, they can still win and win millions of dollars, because it is not all skill. There is definitely chance and luck. Whereas in chess, it's a lot more brutal, because it's just like, there's no luck. And so I think that is probably our biggest barrier. And so that means that the best thing we have is to in order to appeal to a greater audience, is to make it more, it's hard to find the word, but cool isn't the word, like, but that might be the best word I have to come for it, is that when you see it like that, people are like, oh, that's really cool. That's really neat. I want to get into chess.
Mm.
And so, yeah, I mean, I hope that they make more. I don't think that they're going to make a sequel to Netflix.
Mm.
However, everyone in the chess community is like, please, please. It was so great.
That's wonderful. But I'm a very, very amateur chess player from the time I was a child, and I know Queen's Gambit got me to take out my old chess set and start playing a little bit again. So
that's awesome. I didn't know that about you.
But very, very amateur. But let me take one more question. That we're going to run out of time otherwise. Jesse, based on your incredible life and your incredible journey as the national champion in the US, what would you say are 3 lessons you would like our viewers and listeners to take away from your learnings and from your life?
So these are from my learnings, but honestly, this also comes from the strongest student I ever had. Mm-hmm. I once had a student that seemed to succeed at everything he did, not just chess, piano, tennis, everything. It was incredible. And I finally asked his parents, I was like, what is the difference? What's going on here? And the number one thing is they said, get your kids involved in competitions from an early age.
Okay.
They need to learn how to compete and, and how to deal with losing and, do it from an early age so that it becomes something that is natural. Because one of the biggest struggles, again, that we have as chess players is not our ability to understand, it's our psychology. It is feeling very nervous. This student of mine basically did not ever feel nervous. And it was incredible what he could achieve by not feeling nervous. And again, it was getting involved in competitions from a very early age. The second thing that his parents taught me was that they stressed attitude and effort over immediate results. So if he went to a chess tournament and he did very badly, but he could honestly say, Mom, Dad, I tried my best every single game. I didn't give up at all. I fought till the end. Then that would be great. He said the biggest punishment that he received is when something went terribly wrong in his chess game and he decided, you know what, I'm going to keep playing, but I'm not going to try anymore. I don't care anymore. And then parents were like, no, unacceptable. So again, stressing attitude and effort over immediate results. And then the final thing would just be, you got to find something, and I see so many kids today that are doing like 7 activities a week, 2 musical instruments, all the honors classes at school, martial arts, tennis, chess, all these things. And I'm like, that's wonderful. They're becoming a very well-rounded individual. But as my coach used to say, you can either be a jack of all trades or a master of some. And so, I cannot say, oh, that is a bad idea, parents, to expose your children to so many different things. But eventually, as I will do with my son here soon, you've got to pick 1 or 2 things and really, really focus on that and let go of the rest.
Amazing. Jesse, on that note, and your wonderful pieces of advice, which is get your kids involved in competition from an early age, work more on attitude and effort rather than on winning, and finally determine what you're passionate about. Thank you so much for speaking to me. Thank you for sharing with me your incredible journey as a chess champion. And you seem to be doing a lot for young people as you train them or coach them, as well as for the game. Thank you again, and good luck.
Thank you, Ashutosh. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.